Joining us now to react to the president's remarks is CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Hi, Ed. Great to see you. So give us some highlights from the president's remarks. Of course, the timing of all of this is not lost on anyone.
Right. Well, I mean, look, this is becoming sort of his standard stump speech now as we sort of eke into midterm election season. We've heard similar refrains about that popular infrastructure bill before. In this case, going to one of the few deepwater ports that far north along the East Coast to talk about the improvements that are set to come. And also, as you heard, they're talking about New Hampshire's congressional delegation, or at least the ones on the ballot this year, most notably Senator Maggie Hassan, who's a more moderate Democrat and one that has been at odds with the White House regarding, for example, plans to end the Title 42 public health policy that will allow migrants to stream across the border again without concern about COVID-19. And then two congressional candidates there who are going to, at least one of them, Chris Pappas, who faces a pretty difficult re-election. This is part of ongoing travel that began again last week at a notable clip. Stops in Iowa and North Carolina then, New Hampshire today, Oregon, and Washington State later this week. You put those states together and you think to yourself, normally what's going on in all of those? What's going on is you have, at least in the case of all those states, moderate or embattled House Democratic candidates in closer re-election fights. Democrats these days call them frontliners, or those that are on the front lines of the political fight between Democrats and Republicans over control of the House. So these trips to talk about that popular infrastructure bill, elements of the president's plan that has passed before that deal with the economy, or reminding people about the end of the pandemic and other steps being taken, and then the warnings that the war in Ukraine are going to continue to cause prices and supply chain disruptions. All of it designed to get him on the front page of local papers, on the radio there, local news, and maybe into advertising for the Democrats to sort of remind them that the Biden administration and Democrats together are doing what they can to rebuild the country.
And outside of infrastructure, the president, they're also addressing inflation, a topic so important to many Americans right now, as well as the supply chain crisis. Yeah, and look, remember, he can say that it's Vladimir Putin's fault that prices are going up, but the data shows, and we were spending time reporting on the fact late last year into early this year, before the war began, the prices were starting to go up. They've, of course, spiked, especially when it comes to energy costs, but those energy costs rub off or trickle down into everything else we buy or need on a daily basis, whether it's food, whether it's your home heating oil or the air conditioning as the temperatures get warmer in some parts of the country. So, you know, by taking the modest steps that he's taken that we've reported on over the last several weeks, and now going out and reminding people that he's doing that, the hope is that his own poll numbers will go up even as prices are going up, as he tries to demonstrate to people that he's doing what he can to control market forces.
And of course, Ed, the president mentioned that he spoke this morning with European allies about the situation in Ukraine, which is, again, of course, weighing on his administration as well. What more do we know about that call?
It was another call with allies across Europe, the big countries, and then Canada, NATO, the European Commission. In a statement from the White House, they say that the group, quote, affirmed their solidarity with the Ukrainian people and condemned the humanitarian suffering caused by Russia's unprovoked and unjustified invasion. They also discussed their coordinated efforts to impose severe economic costs to hold Russia accountable, and then committed to continued close consultation through the G7, the EU, and NATO. White House aides say that there could be the announcement of more sanctions against Russian people or Russian entities later this week, but nothing yet specific to discuss. Of course, one of the other things we're waiting to hear about is when the U.S. might restore its diplomatic presence in Kyiv, and which senior U.S. official, if anyone, might go to help make that happen. But these kind of close calls that he has here with key leaders or a larger group of allies are just part of the ongoing consultations that he's had really since the lead up to the war began.
Ed O'Keefe, thank you very much.